Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's professional development session on using multiple monitors on your desktop or laptop computer. I'm Dave Giberson. I'm an old, I don't really need to say that, instructional design coordinator from online learning, retired from online learning pathways, but still hanging around to do some of this fun stuff with you all. And we're going to learn today about one of the cheapest and most effective productivity enhancements you can make on your home or office computer system. And it's something you can do. And I'm going to show you how to do it with most available combinations of hardware and software and operating systems. And this is, as the title suggested, adding a second monitor to your computer system. You can do this with desktop computers, either PCs or Macs. You can do it with Windows laptops very easily, and with Macs, with Macintosh or Apple Macintosh computers. The process is basically the same with either a MacBook, a laptop, or a desktop Mac, an iMac, or a MacBook laptop. But the first question I think we have to ask ourselves is, why bother? Because this is not going to be completely free, and it's going to involve some effort. And probably the biggest effort is finding a place to put a second monitor on your desk. So why should you care? Well, obviously, I have drunk this Kool-Aid. This is my multiple monitor setup in my studio that I'm using right now. I've got four fully fledged monitors attached to my system. I'll talk about how I did this earlier. But so you can go way down the rabbit hole with this idea, but nothing will ever enhance your productivity as much as adding the first extra monitor, the second monitor. Everything after that is just kind of incremental in improvement, but adding that first monitor, extra monitor, is a tremendous thing. So why? Well, general productivity being the first reason for this. You can have more than one application open and visible on your computer at the same time. So no more switching back and forth between applications. If you typically use multiple applications at one time, let's say you may have your Zoom meeting running and you may want to have Microsoft Word running at the same time you're working on a document or something while you're listening with one ear to the meeting. Nobody would do that, right? Or maybe you want to be web browsing at the same time you're in your Zoom meeting and you're checking on things that the presenter is saying and so on. There are any number of reasons why you might need to be able to see multiple applications at the same time. And yes, you can resize your windows in either Microsoft Windows or Mac OS, and so that each one takes up only part of the screen, but then it's hard to see what's going on. You only get a part of the screen, or the print gets too small and so on. Being able to have multiple applications open on full-size monitors at the same time is a huge time saver, because you're not always switching back and forth between which window is displayed on your monitor. particularly if you're doing something that requires you to switch back and forth between the applications constantly. Maybe you're checking something in a spreadsheet and then updating something in another piece of software or something. That's something I used to do all the time. And it used to take forever until I finally got at least my second monitor. What you can do here is extend your desktop across multiple monitors so that you can move windows from one monitor to another, and you can choose which monitor you want to display something. And this is really, really helpful when you're in a Zoom meeting, when you want to show people something that's on your monitor, and maybe you want to switch back and forth between applications. You don't have to keep going down to the bottom of the screen and looking for the application you want to display in your taskbar or your ribbon at the bottom on a Mac. You can have the windows that you want to show people available, and then just drag them across onto your let me make sure that's coming through. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, if you're not already, you'll want to be in speaker view in this while viewing this presentation. You'll find the view button in the upper right hand corner of your Zoom screen, and if you go to that, you'll see my monitor full screen, or my display's full screen, and it'll be much easier to see what's going on. Okie dokie. Am I not saying? Oh, I didn't drag that onto the correct monitor. Something wasn't looking right. There we go. I forgot which monitor I was sharing there. Okay, so I can pull these windows on and off. I can have them parked on another monitor and visible to me, so I don't have to remember what I was going to do next. And then I can just drag the window over and share it with you when I'm ready. And I'll be doing a lot of that today. And you can quickly switch between shared windows that way. But probably biggest payoff for me in having multiple monitors during a Zoom meeting is that it allows me to use video enhancement software like Open Broadcaster Studio, or OBS. I very frequently get the question, okay, how are you showing yourself in front of your PowerPoint slide like that live? And indeed, I can show myself in front of lots of different things here, like this live shot out my back window, and recorded videos like this video I took the last time we were in Yellowstone, which I live not far from now. Or there's a recording of what it looked like here on April 17th. It's gotten a little warmer since, thank goodness. So to be able to do video magic like this effectively really requires at least one extra monitor. Indeed, one extra monitor is plenty. So there are just all kinds of good reasons to have a second monitor on your computer. So the question becomes, how do we do that? Well, obviously, the first thing you got to have is another monitor. And hardware can be expensive. But monitors don't have to be. I mean, you can pay thousands and thousands of dollars for a computer monitor, but you don't have to, especially if you're adding a second display to your system that you'll use just some of the time. There are a number of ways to do this without breaking the bank. One is to reuse a monitor that you have sitting around that was on an old computer. And you got a new computer and you got a new monitor with it, or maybe you got a new laptop and you don't use the monitor from your old desktop computer anymore. And you may have already taken it to the thrift store or something like that. But if you haven't, and like me, you have a whole slew of old monitors laying around on the floor that your spouse looks askance at every now and then, you can just repurpose one of those. Monitors tend to last, particularly the flat screen monitors that we've been using for many years now, tend to last forever. They'll outlive the computer that they came attached to by a long shot. And in most cases, they can be repurposed for use as a second monitor on a new system. And there's zero cost. You can also, if you have a local computer store, I don't mean like Best Buy or something like that, but a little local shop, computer repair shop that builds computers for people. And usually it looks like a ratty old closet inside or something like that with old hardware hanging around everywhere. And some of that old hardware will probably be old monitors, used monitors. And those used monitors will have lots of life left in them. And you can go and sometimes get one of those old monitors for very little money. Or maybe you've got an old flat screen TV sitting around that you've replaced with something bigger, and you haven't quite gotten around to getting rid of it yet, and it's cluttering up space. Most flat screen TVs can be used as computer monitors. They have connectors on the back or on the side or wherever that will allow you to plug them into your PC, just like a computer monitor. They're not always as sharp and as wonderful as a purpose-built computer monitor, but they generally work pretty well. Indeed, let's see here. See if I can get back to that slide that I was on. Let's go slideshow, current slide. Oh, that wasn't the one I wanted. Sorry. Sorry, it's fighting me just a second. Swear to God. Okay. There, finally. This one up here is an old 45-inch TV that we replaced with a bigger, newer one. We've had it for 10 years or more, and it was just sitting around, and I was able to repurpose it as my fourth monitor. But it would have made a perfectly good second monitor. It takes up a lot of space. You got to have a big desk for that, but chances are you can make that work. You can also just buy a monitor that is either used or refurbished, or perhaps that you can buy them online. There's a great website for that I've used for many years. I've spent thousands of dollars at this place, mostly for institutional purposes. They're absolutely reliable and very reputable. If I pull them up here, you can get monitors. I've got this set to display their available monitors and price from low to high. You can get monitors for very little money. And used monitors, as I said, will generally last forever. You probably don't want the old 4x3 type monitors like those, but here's a Dell 19-inch widescreen for $41. And you can, of course, you can go down and get decent stuff there. And without much of a capital outlay at all. Amazon is, of course, another good possibility. Amazon's very fond of these Scepter monitors, which you will see are quite inexpensive for brand new monitors if you really prefer something that's brand new. I like this one enough that it is, in fact, my center monitor here, and the 3 monitors I have on my desk is one of these Amazon Scepters. It's a Chinese brand, but it performs great. Had no trouble with it, and I expect it to last probably longer than its useful lifetime. So that's always a possibility. Or Costco. Costco will always have 1 or 2 monitors out that you can buy just the monitor, and their pricing, of course, is quite aggressive. Or Best Buy, Walmart, you can buy a second monitor just about anywhere if one of these cheaper alternatives doesn't show up, and I can almost guarantee that it'll be well worth it in the long run. Then there's the matter of connecting it and getting it to work with your computer. And that's what we're going to spend much of our time talking about today. We're going to need some basic terminology and information before we can talk, before I can demonstrate that and make it make sense. There are unfortunately, lots of different types of video connectors that are used on both computers and on computer monitors. And in order to utilize a second monitor with your computer, you're going to have a cable that will connect to the computer on one end and connect to the monitor on the other. And this bewildering variety of video interfaces that are possible on the machines that the computers you can buy and the monitors you can buy means that can be a little bit of a challenge. So I'm going to spend a lot of time today talking about that and giving you some information about where to find these cables if you don't happen to have the one that will work already. The oldest display interface here is VGA, Video Graphics Array. This came out on IBM PCs, lordy, a long time ago, but it's still fairly common. So you will see this. It's also called a high-density 15-pin interface, if you ever see that. Another one is the so-called DVI, or digital video interface. You'll see this on some older desktop computers and on the backs of some older monitors. And most of my monitors are old enough to have one of these on it. You want to be sure that you get the DVI-D cable and not the DVI-I here, which is actually an old analog interface. The DVI-D means DVI digital. And don't ask me how a DVI interface can be analog. I'm no engineer. But anyway, this one, you can tell the difference between these two if you look closely. They're identical except for these 4 pin holes right here. If you see that, you don't want it. You want this, the DVI-D cable end. Mini and micro DVI, quite frankly, I have never seen. It's not impossible, but your chances of running into those are very remote. And the same is true with mini VGA. I don't know that that's available on much of anything these days. But VGA and DVI-D are still common interfaces to find on the both common ports to find both on the back of computers, particularly desktop computers, or laptops as well. Older laptops will very likely have a VGA connector, a VGA port for their external video connector. Much more common these days, though, and the one you're most likely to run into either on the back of a computer or the back of a monitor is the HDMI, the high definition multimedia interface connector. This is used on everything from DVD players to computers to Roku boxes and TV boxes that attach to your TV and so on. It is the most common video interface today, both on computers and on monitors. Mini HDMI may be found on some smaller devices. Those are not uncommon. I don't think I've ever seen a micro HDMI, but they do exist. Another fairly common interface on PC, Windows PC desktop computers, and some higher end graphics cards and things like that is the DisplayPort interface, full-size DisplayPort. You'll also find this on some monitors as well, though it's less common on monitors than it is on the backs of computers. The mini DisplayPort, or Thunderbolt 2, Apple used to call it, was the external video connector on Macs for a long time, on Macintosh, Apple Macintosh computers for a long time. So that one is one, if you're a Mac person, you may well have that, and you have an older Mac, you may have that on there. Today's Macs almost always use the USB Type-C or Thunderbolt 3 or 4. The Thunderbolt 4 is a little faster, but it's the same connector. It's this oval connector that you can't plug in upside down. You can plug the cable in either way. I love it. Most of these others are asymmetric. You can only plug them in one way if you, and whichever way you try to plug them in, the first time it's the wrong way. You have to turn it over. This one's symmetrical, so it's good. You'll also see these connectors on Windows PCs now as well, or later Windows PCs. But this is USB-C or Thunderbolt. So those are your common display interfaces, and your monitor is liable to have any combination of these, and your PC is liable to have, or your computer is liable to have any combination of these on there. So how do you get them to connect to one another? Well, you got to have a cable with the correct connector on each end, the correct connector for the computer on one end, and a compatible connector for the monitor on the other. And we're going to go through, and I've provided you with some background information here. And I've also provided you with links to places you can buy each of these cable types. Once you take a look at your computer and your monitor that you want to use, and you figure out which cable you need. I am going to share this presentation, this slide deck with you here. As soon as it loads up, there it went. And no, don't want to do that. Don't want to allow editing. All right, apply and copy. And I'm going to put, I'm sorry, I'm doing that off screen for you. I'm muttering to myself. Now I'm going to put this in the chat tool. Put this link. This is a link to PowerPoint slides. And there's the link to my PowerPoint presentation if you want to leap ahead here. But this, if you click on that link and then bookmark it, this will remain available. And you'll be able to go back and look at these if you need some information about how to get a particular cable type at any time. You can come back and get it. The simplest situation, of course, is when the connector on the back of the computer or the side of the computer, wherever it is, whether it's a laptop or a desktop, is the same as the one or as one of the ones that's available on the monitor. Typically, monitors will have a couple of different options, at least, so that they'll connect to more than one type of computer. On older computers, both desktops, older Windows computers, both desktops and laptops, it's a good bet that the VGA cable will, or the computer will have a VGA port on it and an older monitor. Indeed, a lot of monitors will still retain a VGA port, even if it's not, the primary one that's likely to be used. So that's always an option. These cables are very inexpensive these days. And this, if you click on this this image here, it will take you to an Amazon page or some online resource where you can buy one of these for a reasonable price. The other the current most likely option is, or situation, is that your computer has an HDMI port on the back of it, and your monitor has an HDMI port as well. And then you just need an HDMI cable, 6 feet or so, depending on how far away your computer is from your monitor. Those are also readily available and fairly inexpensive. I mean, they can be had for less than $10. If your computer has an HDMI out on it, and your monitor doesn't have an HDMI port, but it does have a VGA port, this is the cable you want. And on these ones where I've got 2 different interfaces listed, I tried to be consistent. I think I managed. The first interface mentioned is the one on the computer, and the second one is the one on the monitor. In cases where the cable won't work either way, like this in this case, if your computer has an HDMI on it, HDMI out on it, and the monitor has a VGA in, this is the cable you want, HDMI to VGA. If it's the other way around, if your computer has a VGA out on it and your monitor does not have a VGA but does have an HDMI port on it, then you want this one. And this connector would connect to the computer and this one to the monitor. In most of these cases, the cables are bidirectional. That is, you can use them, either connector can go on the computer or the monitor. That's true here. If your monitor or your computer has a VGA port and the other device has a DVI-D, this cable will work. Or if one of the devices is HDMI and the other is DVI-D, this one will work. Those, by the way, were mostly connectors that you're going to find on Windows PCs. Let me go back on that. This is mostly Windows here. These, there were too many to fit on one screen for the mostly Windows. The DisplayPort cable, if your computer has a DisplayPort on it and your monitor has only a VGA, this cable will work. If your computer has a DisplayPort and your monitor has HDMI but not DisplayPort, you can use this one. Monitors with DisplayPort connectors on them are relatively rare. There's certainly enough out there, but relatively rare. And if you need to connect a DisplayPort device to a DVI device with a DVI-D, this cable will work. And I've got links to all of those for you in this slide deck. On a Mac, and these are more commonly seen on Macs, older Macs use a connector, have a video out on them, that even if they have a built-in monitor, like an iMac or a MacBook, they'll have an external video port that on older ones, like before 2017, things like that, will have mini DisplayPort connectors. And if you have a monitor that has VGA in on it, this cable will work for that. You can still connect that Mac to it. If your monitor has HDMI on it and there's a mini DisplayPort to HDMI cable available, or if your monitor has a DVI-D on it only, that's unlikely. But if the other connector is not one you're particularly enamored of or that you don't want to deal with, you can get DisplayPort, mini DisplayPort to DVI-D cables as well. More modern Macs will have as a video output. Your MacBook will have this, your more recent iMacs probably, and certainly the newer, the Studio, the Apple Studio displays and things like that will have a USB-C or Thunderbolt 3 connector, a port on the computer. And you can connect that port to VGA on the monitor, to HDMI on the monitor, to DVI-D. So you can connect virtually any computer and any monitor together. And indeed, some monitors now just have USB-C or Thunderbolt connectors on them. So all you need is a Thunderbolt to Thunderbolt or a USB-C to USB-C cable. And these are available. So just about anything can be connected to just about anything else if you have the right cable. And I hope this will give you at least a place to start. I'm not going to say you can't find them cheaper somewhere, but I did tend to stick with brands that I know are not terribly expensive, yet I've had good experience with, like Benefi, which is a Chinese brand, but I've got numerous devices that started out life in Benefi's factory in China and that work great. So that doesn't bother me a bit. Not spending a whole lot of money doesn't bother me a whole lot. All right, so now we're going to see how to actually do this. I can't obviously show you all of those possibilities that I just went through on the slide, but I'm going to show you the three most common scenarios here. We're going to start with adding a second monitor to a Windows PC. And this part of it is just so super easy. Actually connecting the monitor and so on is trivial once you've figured out what cable you need. Configuring it, you got to see it done once, but it's really pretty simple because you have to tell the operating system, either Windows or Mac OS, how to use the monitor and how you want the monitor to be configured. And I'll show you that. To do that, I'm going to switch to my little pan tilt zoom camera here. He who dies with the most toys wins. Okay, so let me get this chair out of the way. I don't often have to get up when I'm doing these sessions. Get a little exercise today. Okay, I have taken up a good chunk of my studio here. Oh, Lord. I should never get in front of a camera profile. Oh, that's embarrassing. All right, forgetting that. Here's a Windows PC, desktop PC. And I've got a monitor already attached to it, primary monitor. I figure you got that covered. And then here is an old TV that I'm going to use to demonstrate a second monitor, mainly because it's small and I could get it to fit on the table. Here I've got a Windows laptop, and I've got a secondary monitor that I'm really quite enamored of. This is a portable monitor. It's got a little case that serves as a stand, and it doesn't even need its own power. It takes power off the computer through a USB-C cable here, which I'm not going to worry about. You saw what that looked like. That cable is not sending video to it right now, but it is providing power to the monitor. So I can use this monitor with the laptop, even if I don't have power for either one for a period of time, depending on the size of the battery in the laptop. This monitor will run off the battery in the laptop. So that one wasn't as cheap as some of the options I showed you. But this allows me to have a backpack that I can throw this laptop into and the monitor, and I can go anywhere and use my laptop and have a second monitor without necessarily, as long as I don't talk too long, which, what are the chances of that? I wouldn't even have to have power to do this. So I could do this anywhere I had internet signal. I could be sitting at the beach under an umbrella with a little table, and I could be using my phone as a Wi-Fi hotspot and picking up the internet off a cell tower and do this. This is the, I'll go into more detail with that later in the month when I do a session on teaching from anywhere. So that's a Windows laptop, and then we're going to attach a second monitor to that. And here is a Mac. Yeah, that's a Macintosh, an Apple Macintosh computer. Doesn't look much like a MacBook or an iMac. That is the Mac Mini. The reason I'm going to show you this one is this is the only Macintosh computer I own, for starters. It's also the only one, it's the first Apple computer I feel comfortable recommending that people buy, particularly institutional users, since 1986. This is the first Apple computer other than a smartphone I've bought since 1986. Because I've always felt that Macs were overpriced and underpowered. And for many years, they didn't work well in an institutional type environment with with Windows PCs, which probably are dominated by Windows PCs. Because despite all the hype in the news and things like that, 75% of computers used by individuals are Windows computers. Roughly 15% are Macs, and the remainder is accounted for by Chromebooks and Linux computers and things, Linux computers running Linux and so on. The Unix-like operating system that's free. So Macs represent about 15% of the installed base of personal computers. So if you want to do neat tricks with a computer and so on, and you're making a device or a piece of software that you want to sell as many copies of as possible, which type of computer are you going to develop for first? But when Apple came out with their new CPU chip, the central processor unit chip they call the M1 a couple of years ago, they came out with this little Mac. Well, they'd had Mac Minis for a while, but they put one into a Mac Mini. And I decided I needed a Mac for demonstration purposes. And one day I go on to the Apple website, and Apple has got their hearts right that day, as we used to say in the Southeast. And this little sucker was $500 for a brand new computer. So I said, okay, that's worth the risk. One of the reasons it's less expensive than other Macs is it doesn't come with a keyboard and a pointing device and a monitor built in. You have to attach those to ports on the back of the Mac Mini separately. But like as we've been discussing here today, you can use just about any old raggedy monitor, keyboard, mouse you happen to have handy with this device. So you can keep the overall expenditure small. And of course, I was a little concerned about whether the device would be powerful enough to do any of the stuff that I like to do, like working with video and things like that. But I decided $500 was a worthwhile risk. So I bought the thing. And to my delighted surprise, it's quite powerful. And this is the very bottom model. I mean, it's only got 8 gigabytes of random access memory in it, which is the least you can get. It's got a relatively small internal solid state drive. Doesn't have a mechanical hard drive in it with spinning platters, which improves its performance. So it performs great. I'm able to run almost anything on this one that I can run on my that super system I have over there that my wife finally let me buy. And it works great. So I'm quite happy with this little Mac Mini. I think it's, like I say, the first computer that Apple has made that was worth the money and had adequate performance in a long time. That's just one person's opinion, of course. An old Windows person I am, obviously. So I've got this one here, and we'll see how to hook. I've got a monitor attached to it. This is actually another old TV, which works pretty well with it. But we're going to attach a second monitor to it as well and get it to work. We're going to see how to do that. So let's get started with the Windows computer. Let me zoom in on that. Love my little PTZ pan tilt zoom camera here. Except you do have to be a little bit coordinated to do this. Not my strong suit. All right, here's the back of that PC, the Windows desktop PC. And the blue cable you see there is a VGA cable, and it's the primary video connector. So that's the one that's actually I'm using right now. But right next to that, as is typical with almost all desktop computers these days, is a second video port. And you may or may not be able to read that. That's an HDMI port. You can also recognize it from the shape. It's a sort of a truncated trapezoid, a five-sided polygon that is where the sides are all of different lengths, but typical HDMI connector. So I need a cable with an HDMI connector on the end, and here is one. Let's see if I can get it to focus on that. There it is. Okay, that's an HDMI cable. And then I got to go and look at my monitor and see what I've got on it. Well, let me scooch over to the little TV that I'm going to use as my second monitor here. And just to be absolutely aggravating, the ports on this one, I hate it when they do this on monitors, are up underneath here. So I got to pick the thing up. And maybe I can make this a little easier for you to see if I do another trick here. Here's another good Zoom trick. I am going to switch my Zoom video input from my OBS output here, which I normally use. And I'm going to take my iPhone and I'm going to run an app on the iPhone called Epoch Cam. And then I'm going to select that option from my video menu on Zoom. Let me share my screen with you and show you what I'm doing. I'm going to share my Zoom screen with you here for a moment. All right, so looks like it. Get this out of the way. I can go to my video settings here next to the little camera icon in the Zoom menu, click the up caret, and I have a bunch of different video options on this system, but one of them is Epoch Camera. And that's my iPhone. You can do this with an Android phone as well. There are apps, other apps that work better for the Android, but same thing. The app cost me $8, I think, when I had the phone anyway, so this is free. So I can go over here, I can show you the back of this a little bit more flexibly, the back of this monitor, and I can pick it up and turn it over and show you the back of it. And there I have both a VGA and an HDMI in on this, among other older analog stuff and so on. I don't care. It's the two on the left here that I care about, these two. And whoop, and there's an HDMI. So I'm cool. I have an HDMI out on my desktop, and I have an HDMI in on the computer. So all I got to do is plug, all I have to have is an HDMI cable with HDMI connectors on both ends. So let me stop making you vaguely nauseous there. Oh, I moved it. Okay, keep up with the program. There we go. All right, there's my back of my thing, and I have the other end of that HDMI cable here. Get myself out of the way. Whoop. Excuse me. Picked up the wrong cable. Ah, that's the one for the one next door. All right. Where the other end of this go? Oh, there it is. Okay. So there's the other end of the HDMI cable. Looks just like the other end. And I'll just go here. I'll tip this thing up. And I'll just plug this into here. It'll only go one way, so I have to fiddle around with it until I get it pointing the right way. And there I have my HDMI cable now plugged into the monitor. Now I can turn the monitor back around. Again, get myself out of the way. And let's zoom that out so we can see that whole system. Now, of course, I need to plug the HDMI, the other end of that HDMI cable, into the back of the computer. It's right here. And here's the other end of the cable. And I plug that in. Again, only go one way. And turn on the computer, or turn on the monitor. By the way, don't ever buy anything with that logo on it. And there we go. I now have a second monitor on that desktop computer. And that's all there was to it. But it's probably not doing exactly what I want it to do. Yeah, I got it. Because the two monitors are showing the same thing. This is probably how your second monitor will work when you first plug it in. It will just mirror, is the term, what is on your primary monitor. And that's great if the secondary video display device is a projector and you're trying to project what's on your main monitor to the classroom from a screen, projected on a screen on the wall so that people in your classroom can see it. And that's the most common use of the second video port on a computer. Well, I wouldn't say that, but it is a less sophisticated use of that you often see. So I need to tell Windows not to do that. What I want to do is tell Windows to do what's called extend the display. That is, extend my desktop across both displays so I can move windows and put them on different monitors and utilize this in the most productive way. So how do I do that? Well, in order to show you how to do that, I'm going to share the primary screen on this Windows computer with you through Zoom. Is the best way to do that. I'll go share my screen. Oh, I'm still sharing my other screen. Shoot, that was dumb. Should have stopped that. But I think you still saw everything. Okay, now I can share this computer screen. And I'll share my primary monitor. And now you're seeing what's on my primary monitor here. And to make these setting changes, I need to go to my desktop, my Windows desktop. So I'll just minimize those windows there. Here I am on my Windows desktop, and I right-click. I click with the right mouse button, and I select from the context menu that pops up, Display Settings. And I get this page. If I scroll down, I can see that my multiple display operation mode is set to duplicate or mirror the two displays. If I want to extend my desktop so that I can have one window on one computer and one on another and see both at the same time, I just select from this option menu, extend these displays. Take care, Thelma. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So now it changes the mode, keep changes. And let's see what that did. If I kill that screen share, okay, you are now seeing that. Now, the two windows. Let me get this Zoom window out of the way. That's a little confusing. You're now seeing different displays on the two computers, or on the two monitors, excuse me. And I can move windows from one monitor to the other, from one part of the desktop to the other, by going to the top of the window, top center usually, and just clicking. If I click and move and drag the, get my head out of the way, and move that window, I can just click and drag it over onto the second monitor. And then I can run something else on the primary monitor, like, I don't know, Word. No, I don't want to do this. Don't personalize. I can, I can pull up a document on here, and I can, not now. Don't bother me. Spoken to Microsoft, not you all, obviously. And here I've got my Word document on one screen and my display settings on another. And I can swap those around. I can put something new over here if I like. Like I could, and I just move by moving my mouse cursor right and left, I can just go from one screen to the other. And let's say I want to put this Zoom window back up, but I want to move it to the other monitor. I can just drag it over here and maximize it. And now that went back home. There we go. So now I've got my Zoom window on one monitor and another application on a second monitor. And if I'm in a Zoom session and I want to share my screen, let me share my Zoom screen here with you. I can share it's not the one I thought I shared, just a second. Oh, operator error. Screen 2, share. Oh, that's right. I don't have this client set to display my Zoom window, but now I can share either of these monitors separately with you all. Stop that again. Maximize this. When I hit the share screen button, now it gives me two options. Let me drop that down and zoom in a little bit on it. This is another way to share your screen if you've got a decent camera. Not necessarily recommended, but okay. Now, when I go to share my screen in Zoom, I have two options, two screens, and I can share either one that I wish. So I can share this screen that has my document on it and keep my Zoom screen on another monitor where I can monitor and where I can have access to it. So this alone makes your Zoom meeting a whole lot easier to manage because you can see your Zoom window and what you're sharing at the same time. And you can always control. When I activate this share of the Word document over here, on my other screen, I have I can move, I should say, my share control bar off of the screen that I'm sharing and onto the computer that I'm not sharing, onto the monitor that I'm not sharing. So I can see this at the same time I'm sharing the Word document with you. So I can easily utilize the Zoom controls in this menu, or I can stop the share without having that bar in the way and having you see it. And I can, of course, park windows over here that I want to share with you and just drag them over. Let's say I want to run Excel here. Sorry, old computer.
Dave.
Yes, please.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Okay, because sorry if other people have questions. I
want you to have questions. Go for it.
Okay, 2 years ago, I tried to do a duplicate or dual, and I got all the right cables, but I only got it to mirror. I couldn't get the next step. So now I went back and got all the equipment again, and I plugged everything in, but then it changed. I turned on my monitor, my second monitor, and
Right.
now I'm stuck with my second monitor as my primary monitor.
Got it. Okay, let's go back to our controls here. Let me share those controls with you again. Anyway, I can bring up Excel and I can share that with you. Or not. Let's see there. Sorry, this old computer is very slow. So I can pull Excel out of the way. It'll eventually disappear there. Gee. And there we go. And then I can bring it back when I need it. So you just have so much more capability in Zoom meetings, or when you're just doing normal stuff that you would not have if you had just the one monitor. Now let's go back to those questions about how to adjust the settings again. I'm going to stop my share here, and I'm going to share the monitor that has the let me get this out of the way. Get this out of the way. Now I'm sharing my display settings page. For starters, note that when I changed my multiple display setting from duplicate to extend, at the top of the screen, I now see my two different monitors mentioned, or see them listed. So this shows me that Windows is seeing two different monitors. And again, I did that by using extend these displays as the option under multiple displays. If I wish to change which monitor is my primary display, the one where my taskbar appears and things like that, I need to select the other. I can tell I've got the number one monitor selected here. If I select the number two monitor, to make that my main display, I just select that monitor from this display here. And if you can't tell which monitor is which, you can click identify. And it will tell me that this is monitor number 2 that I'm on right now, that I have selected right now. And it shows me, let me switch that. Let's see. Let me kill the share here for a second and go back to my camera. Zoom out so I get both of those displays handy. And if I hit that, let me get zoom out of the way again. Come on. It's over scanning. Nuts.
That sounds like my life.
Come on. This monitor is too small for this application. It's just one I happen to have. So let me kill the share. Let me go ahead and do the share again. Anyway, when I hit this identify button here, it will identify which monitor is number 1, which one is 2. It just shows that to me on the screen for a second. And to make that my primary display, I just click this, and it is now my primary display. So that's how you tell Windows which of the 2 monitors, or which of however many monitors you have, to use a particular monitor as the primary display. And that option should be available to you under display options. So that should take care of that problem. Let me know if you have any trouble with that.
I'm working on it, and
Even as we speak. There we go. I finally got that hold of that thing. Okay. So, oh, and one other thing. Normally, rather than having your monitors above and below one another like this, you're going to have them side by side. And you want the monitors to be the windows to have the monitors arranged in the same left to right order that you have them physically set. So that when I have you can see my cursor moving around here. If I drag that to the right, it drags over onto the second monitor, which is sort of on the right side here and below, but at least that makes some sense. That's not guaranteed. That's more a matter of luck and which display connector is favored on the back of the computer and so on. So you can fix this if it's not to your liking. Let's say you want to be able to drag your cursor over to the left and have it move over to the other monitor, which is on your left. You can go to your Windows display settings and go to the top of the screen, and you can just click and drag the monitors relative to one another. And this is something you'll almost certainly have to do unless well, it's a lot easier to do this than it is to physically pick up the monitor and move it to the other side. Move the second monitor to the other side. You don't have to do that. Now, if I'm, and if I apply that, got to apply that change. Now, if I want to get back to my original monitor, I have to go to the right here. And when I move this cursor from the right back to the left, it appears. So you can switch these back and forth, left to right at will, and then just apply. Don't forget to apply the change. That's what I always do. and wonder
Dave,
what.
I'm not seeing a change occur other than on your screen that you're moving it left to right, but I'm not seeing anything change in the monitor itself.
Okay, you don't see any change in the monitors itself. You see a change in the direction. Can you see the cursor moving there?
I do now. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah. If now that what that means, if I go to the let me get that down where you can see it. If I move the cursor to the right, it will move over.
Got it.
Onto the onto this monitor, which is set up to be to the right of the primary monitor. But
Gotcha.
if
Thank
I
you.
drag that back, now I have to go the other way to get back to the other monitor. Oh, I haven't changed. I always forget to apply that. Old man. So now they're on opposite sides. You drag the cursor in a different direction to get over to the second monitor. And you can control that, as we saw, very simply by just dragging these back and forth and remembering to hit apply after you do that so that it takes effect. So that's most of the tricks you have to know in order to get your second monitor on a Windows PC set up, operating the way you want it to, with it on the correct side, and determining which monitor is your primary monitor that has your start button and all your taskbar on the bottom of it and so on. And you can do this, well, we'll talk about more than two later if we have time. All right, so that's all there is of the Windows PC, and it takes a lot longer to talk about configuring it to make the monitors work right than it does to actually hook them up. Hooking them up is pretty trivial. So let's move over and try the same thing on a laptop, which is going to be even easier because the laptop, all laptops these days, have secondary video ports on them. I haven't seen one made in the last 10 years that didn't. Let's put it that way. But they're always in different places depending on the nature of the laptop. Let me get my iPhone camera going again here so I can show you this more conveniently. On this laptop, if I close it up for a second, the video port, quite inconveniently for the purposes of this demonstration, is on the back here. And let's see if we can see it with all the wires in the way. You have to stand up again. There it is. Here's the HDMI port.
Gotcha.
Okay, you can sort of see that. There we go. There's the HDMI port.
Yeah.
All right. So it's got an HDMI out on it. Yeah. And so I just plug the HDMI cable in.
Dave, I love these workshops. Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you. This one's got a lot of moving parts, but it works. Okay, so now I've got, get out of there. Now I've got, there's my HDMI cable plugged into the back of the laptop, the worst possible place in this case. So I've connected the laptop to that cable.
Dave, I joined a little bit late. Is that connected directly to a switch box or is that to a monitor?
Right to a monitor.
Okay, thank you.
That. And let me switch out again. Okay.
I think you need a few more monitors.
Yeah. This is the mad scientist's lair here. Now we have this portable monitor, which I love. And the connectors for it are on the side, which is a little bit more conducive. And let me go back to the iPhone. And here they are.
This is my main monitor. For some
And let me see, I think I can make this
here.
a little clearer. Okay, this is just power cable. But here I have two mini HDMI connectors. And I had to go back to my little diagram to figure out what those were, because they just say HD. They don't say HDMI because there's not enough room for it on the side of the thing. But I've got two HDMI ends on this monitor. So I need a cable that has a full-sized HDMI connector on one end and a, here somewhere, there it is. It. Ah, there it is. There, here a minute ago. A mini HDMI on the other. That's a tiny HDMI. You see it's the same shape, but a lot smaller. So I just had to buy the right cable. Actually, it came with the monitor. So I plug that in.
I have a whole box of cables. I don't know which ones are which of them.
Yeah, right. I had to go through and label or pull out a lot of these and look at them to find the right ones. So I just put it into it'll only go in one way, and this one's a little harder to tell. So I just kind of have to feel for it. It'll only go in one direction. But there it's going in. You push it in. And flip this around so we can see it now. Let me go back to the pan tilt zoom camera, which is right, and open up the laptop. If I haven't screwed something up. Yoo-hoo. Do have to log into Windows.
Steve, I have a quick question.
Absolutely.
My question is, I'm operating on now one laptop for remote teaching, everything else. Now, can I have a completely separate laptop and then connect the second monitor as connected to the other second laptop? Or should I just use both laptops?
You can actually do it either way. I'm going to show you in a minute how to utilize a Windows laptop, or how to use a second Windows computer, like a laptop, as a second monitor on a primary Windows system. So you could actually do it either way. So, and since you already have the two laptops, that doesn't involve going out and buying a monitor. And it'll work pretty well. I'm not quite sure why this is. Come on.
Thank you.
You bet. All right. What is going on here? Oh, signal. Oh, I think I probably plugged the wrong. I got too many cables here. I think I probably plugged the wrong cable into this one. Yep. Sure shouldn't. Okay, making the adjustment on the laptop. Too many HDMI cables laying around here. Bingo. Now I have a second monitor on my Windows laptop. I can move windows between them. I can do all the same stuff I can do on the desktop And that that monitor, the second monitor, I can just throw in a backpack and take with me. And it pulls power off the laptop, and it works like a charm. And is very high quality. It's not as cheap a solution as finding an old TV or something. Because this is a 17-inch laptop, I felt like I needed a 17-inch second monitor as well. It's easier, though not essential, if both monitors are more or less the same size. If I had been willing to go with a 15.5-inch secondary monitor, say I had a smaller laptop, which is common, or I was just willing to go with a smaller secondary monitor, I could have gotten that secondary monitor, the portable one, with the same capability for about $150. It was $300 thereabouts for the 17-inch. So you really pay for the extra size. It's worth it to me in this case, but it's not needed, especially if you have a smaller laptop. It's easier to work with. So and I'm certainly not limited to using this nice portable monitor here. I actually had this set up originally with just a regular old computer monitor. Then it occurred to me it might be nice to talk about the portable monitor as well. So I swapped that one out. But you could use any monitor with this laptop, and it will work like a charm. So that's pretty much the same process as the Windows desktop. Is just easier because the video port on the laptop is easier to get to, usually, except unless you have it set up like I do here. All right, so those are both Windows machines, but you can do the same thing with a Mac. I show you with my Mac Mini here. Here's a Macintosh computer. Let me go back and run through, keep up with my slides here.
Dave, have you already addressed the idea of having multiple laptops plugged into like a switch box or something that you get back and forth so you don't have to switch the cords?
Oh, if you were going to share a mouse and a keyboard?
Yes.
Different computers, different laptops or whatever?
Exactly.
Yeah, you can do that. That's not related to what we're talking about right now. It has nothing to do with display settings or anything, but I will definitely show you a very simple solution to that here in a minute.
Okay.
It doesn't cost much, and that is very possible to do. When I have my setup in my studio here, as I normally have it, I have 3 different computers: the Windows laptop, the Mac Mini, and my primary system, all using the same keyboard and mouse.
Gotcha.
For next to nothing in terms of cost. And I'll show you that, but I want to get through the video part of it first. Sure. That was the, or we'll lose track here. Mm-hmm. Well, we've done the Windows PC demo here, and we've done the PC laptop demo. But now let's talk. Now we're working on the Mac demo. And this graphic here on the right shows you the display setting interface on the Mac, but I'm going to show you that in real time here. So let's go back to the pan tilt zoom camera so you can see the Mac there. Drop that down a little bit so you can see the computer as well. And I'm going to go over here to the Mac and get my iPhone camera working again. One of the cuter options I've seen. All right. There's the back of the Mac Mini. And there's a limit how close this thing will focus. But I've got my Mac Mini has an for its primary video output that's plugged into the monitor that's working right now is just an HDMI cable. And that's different from, so you could just think of this has got us to the point where you normally start with a MacBook laptop, where MacBook's displaying on its native or built-in LCD screen. But this is how you get a first monitor attached to your Mac Mini, usually, is just by plugging in the HDMI cable into the monitor and into the Mac. No big deal. But the Mac has secondary video ports, and you really probably can't see, but these two ports right here are USB-C ports. Let me try switching to the other camera here and see if that focuses a little cleaner.
We could see it, to be honest.
Okay, there they are. I know you can see them much better. Those are two USB-C type ports, little ovals, and above and between them is a little lightning bolt symbol, and that means those are Thunderbolt compatible video ports, as well as standard USB ports. You can use them different ways. So what I need to connect to the monitor, or to connect to the computer, excuse me, is a USB-C connector, like this one. And now I need to look at the back of my monitor up here, my monitor that I'm going to use. And that's going to be a bit of a pain because it's got another one of those setups where the ports are up mounted vertically. The pain. So here they are. There they are. So this monitor has two input ports, a VGA, which I don't recommend with a Mac, although you could use it, or this is a DVI-D port. So I need on the other end of that cable that's coming from the Mac, a DVI-D connector. And that required a little bit of doodah. What I'm using here for this is an adapter that has the DVI or the USB-C connector on one end, and on the other end, sorry, seasickness. That's an HDMI connector. I think you can probably see that.
Yes. Yep.
So that's the adapter. Then I have a cable that has an HDMI connector, male connector on it. So I plug the one into the other. So this, given that I'm using an old monitor with a nice new Mac, I had to do some futzing around. Uh-oh. There we go. So now I've got, come on. Oh, I closed my app. There. Now I've got the connector, the adapter connected to the cable with the HDMI port on it. And on the other end of this contraption, I need a DVI-D cable. And it so happens, as I showed you earlier, you can buy a cable that has an HDMI connector on one end and a DVI-D on the other, which will plug into the monitor right there. Let me do that. I gotta have two hands to do that. These DVI connectors are a pain. They'll only plug in one way. It's impossible to plug them in wrong. And you can see on a DVI connector pretty much which way it goes. Say it was easy to plug it in. All right. So now I've got that plugged in. So I just flip the monitor back up. And now I'm going to plug, and I'm taking a chance, a little bit of a chance here by doing all this with everything on. You get away with it probably 99 times out of 100, but it's generally best to make these connections when everything's turned off. And I'm going to take one more chance here. So I'm going to plug my USB-C into my adapter here into the back of my Mac right there. So I'm willing to take a chance on burning one of the ports on the Mac. Very low chance. He said, and plug that in.
We are learning, Dave. We are learning.
And looky there. Now I have a second monitor on my Mac. They are, as we saw with the Windows PC, mirroring. That is, I'm seeing the same thing on both monitors. But just as I could with the Windows PC, I can fix that. It's going to be easier for you to see me doing that if I share my screen here on the Mac. I've got the Mac in the Zoom meeting as well. Zoom is just wonderful, wonderful stuff, I tell you. Okay, I'm going to share my Mac screen with you. Okay. Still seems strange to me to see that screen in my own
It's very pride oriented. It looks good.
little world here. All right, there's that's about as big as I can make that Mac cursor. And I'm going to go to, on the Mac, to the Apple menu. Those of you who have Macs are very familiar with that in the upper left-hand corner, always there. And I'm going to select System Preferences. The magic thing that allows you to change the behavior of your Mac in so many ways. I'm going to go to Displays in the lower left-hand corner. Displays, this is how you get to display settings on the Mac. And here I've got both of my, get something out of the way here, out of my way. I've got, here are my display settings. And I've got an arrangement tab in between the display tab. This, and of course, I'm seeing both displays. I'm seeing the Toshiba TV, which is my primary display I'm using here. And here's the new one I just hooked up is the HP, it's an old Hewlett Packard monitor, which is actually a much better monitor. And it is just easier for this purposes as demonstration to use the TV for the primary. Now I can go to Arrangement, and I see that I have the option to mirror displays set. So that right now, as we saw a moment ago, I'm seeing both things on the same monitor. If I uncheck that, that will no longer be the case. Now I have to go back and let me kill the share for a second. You'll be able to use the iPhone camera. You'll be able to see that. Go. Okay, I've got two different sets of things on the two monitors. And I can move stuff between the two monitors. Oh, going the wrong way. There we go. I can move windows from one monitor to the other, just like I could on the PC. Once I uncheck that option that says display or mirror displays, I can, just as I could with the PC, I can change the orientation of the two. Now let me share the screen again. Easier for you to see that. Okay, now you're seeing my primary Mac screen. Bring up, I can decide which monitor is left or right by just clicking and dragging, like just like on the Windows machine. And so it's basically the same situation. So I have a nice dual display here on my Mac. And rather than having to pay Apple prices for monitors, which are astounding, I've got an old Hewlett-Packard monitor from an old computer I'm not using anymore, and an old TV. And they work fine. They're not quite as nice as a $3,000 Apple monitor, but they work just well enough for me that I don't have to do that. So I can get away with living in the Mac world without paying Mac prices, which has always been my primary objection to the things. They're just too damned expensive for what you get. So, and the last things I want to show you today, let me see how I'm doing on time.
Yeah. Hey, one question. Why are you doing that? Remember, I was the person to ask you about using a second computer. I have an old computer that I could use the monitor from that old computer, just like you doing this one.
Right.
And because it's already paid for.
Exactly. And it'll work fine. Monitors last forever. And they're generally quite good quality. You know, you can maybe have a slightly sharper display and slightly brighter on a new monitor or whatever, but trust me, that most of the monitors I have on my system here that I use all the time are at least 10 years old.
Yeah, well, see, my both are HPs. One is older than car, and I had it repaired, and had it repaired. I just went out and bought another one. And now I could use it.
Yeah,
Thank you. That was a good tip.
You can use a monitor off of it. It's probably sitting in your way somewhere, right?
Yes, it's true. It's sitting my way.
So we just turned a liability into an asset. I mean, there's never a bad day when you can do that. One more trick I'm going to show you on both the Mac and the PC is that you can also, under certain circumstances and with certain types of equipment, you can connect monitors to your computers wirelessly. And in the case of the Mac, since we're working on the Mac right now, I'm going to show you how to do this with an iPad. Now, unfortunately for me, I have an iPad mini. It's the only iPad I have. And I mainly use that to read books on, but I figured I needed an iPad for demonstration purposes, just like I needed a Mac for these courses. So my wife let me buy the iPad mini, which costs more than the new computer, or the new Windows computer I bought for her. Apple, it's no wonder Apple is the richest company in the world. But here I have an iPad. Oh, wait a minute, you're not seeing that. Here's my iPad mini. And if I unlock that, usual stuff. Still using my iPhone. For somebody who avoided buying Apple computers for so many years, I do seem to have bought a ton of Apple devices. I have to admit the iPad is clearly superior to any other tablet that I've ever used. And the iPhone is a wonderful phone. But so I've got my iPad on and ready to go here. And if I now share my Mac screen with you again, and get the Zoom window out of the way. I can go back to system preferences. Remember Apple menu, system preferences. And I can go to a little icon right next to the display called Sidecar. I click on Sidecar. Sidecar allows me to connect a display to my Mac wirelessly. It allows me to connect an iPad to my Mac wirelessly so that the iPad will serve as yet another monitor for the Mac. I just select the device. The only one I have available is one iPad, so I'll select that. Okay, and I can then go back to the Displays tab, and under AirPlay Display, I can select now the option for iPad, which I forgot and left it that way, I guess, so it was already selected. But normally I have to go in there and select the iPad here as well. Just an aside for a moment, you'll notice there are two other AirPlay compatible devices I have here. Roku players. Those are attached to the two TVs I have in the house, one of which is a big LED display TV, or big 65-inch Samsung flat screen TV. The other is my home theater projector, which will throws an image onto a 120-inch diagonal movie screen, which is hanging in my living room on one wall in my living room. It's my home theater. That's where I watch all my TV. I can, if I wish, use that giant projector as a monitor for my Mac. And then I can really do some playing around. And I had to learn how to do things like that when I started developing cataracts not long before I retired. And I kept having to have bigger and bigger monitors. And finally, I was using that 65-inch TV as a monitor, as the only one I could see, until the buggers would let me have the surgery. So you can do some really cool stuff with this, with AirPlay. But right now, I'm just gonna use the iPad. I'm gonna tell it to use the iPad. And if I notice, it automatically went back to mirror display, so I'm gonna uncheck that. And now, if I switch what you're seeing, if I kill my screen share and show you my iPad is now serving as a third screen on my Mac. I love this stuff. The little case, of course, has a little stand on it. I can never figure out how to make that work right away. There we go. So here's my monitor, here's my camera. So now I've got 3 monitors on my Mac. A little bitty one that's really not that, but you know, the resolution on the iPad screen is so good that even though it's small, you can see and you can really use it. And if this were a full-sized iPad, it would be great, especially one of the bigger iPad Pros or something. You could really use that as a secondary monitor without having to worry about cables or anything like that. And I've got my displays extended so I can move windows from one monitor to the next, and I've actually got 3 monitors on my Mac. And this is one of the few ways I know to do that on a Mac. Pretty cool. Just by, of course, they all have to be on the same wireless network, but they probably will be at home. So you can do some pretty wild, fun stuff with this. All right, let's see where we are with this process here. I've got about 9 minutes left, and I have 1 or 2 slides left. Let me get us back to my slides here. Okay, there's our Mac demo. We've just done all that.
Hey, before you go to that,
You
is
bet.
there any other wireless I can use? I'm trying to think about, like I'm back on these 2 computers or 2 laptops. If I get is there a
I'm about
wireless?
to show you how to use that. I'm about to show you how to use
Okay,
Windows laptop as a monitor on the other computer.
okay.
Something similar to what we just did with the Mac. I was already on that one, so I just decided to do that first. All right, so I don't know why I got those in that order. Before I do that, let me just mention that you can get more than 2 monitors on a system, and the more the merrier, the more options you have. As I showed you early on, I've got 4 native monitors on my primary system that I use for these Zoom meetings. One way to do that, and the way that I was fortunate enough to be able to do it, was to buy a computer with a video card that had more than 2 connectors on it, like this one. And this video card is only about $80-some now. So it's not insane, and it's something you can install on a Windows. This one will really only work on a Windows PC. But it's something you can plug into the an expansion slot inside the Windows PC if it didn't come with it, or you can just buy the computer with it. I bought my computer with a 4 port card on it, so I can have 4 monitors running at the same time. On Windows, it is also possible to add a 3rd monitor or 4th. Susan, absolutely. I'd love to troubleshoot that with you. Another way is to use if your computer, as it almost certainly does, has a USB 3 port on it, you can buy adapters that will allow you to plug monitors into that. It only works on Windows, and it does involve the fairly trivial installation of a driver program, an interface program that will make them talk to one another. But you can use a USB port and hook 1 or 2 extra monitors. So that'll bring you right up to, if you had both of the physical ports on your computer, your Windows computer in use already, you could add up to 2 more monitors and have 4 monitors that way. The performance is usually quite good. That's how I had 3 monitors on my work system for years before I just went ahead and bought a computer that had a video card in it that would handle multiple monitors, more than 2 monitors native. And notice that these 2 solutions really only work with PCs. It's difficult to get more than 2 monitors on on most Macs, with the exception of that thing where you could share it with the iPad, or share it with a TV through a Roku device or something like that. But you can also daisy chain so-called DisplayPort or Thunderbolt monitors that have either DisplayPort connectors or Thunderbolt connectors on them. You can run a cable from the computer to the first monitor, and then a cable from the second monitor to the third. And if you have some of the very newest Macs, I mean, like the ones that just came out in the last year with M1 Plus, or I'm sorry, M1 Pro, M1 Max, or M1 Ultra chips in them, or the new M2 chip that just came out, was just announced the other day, they can handle up to 4 or 5 monitors daisy chained this way. So Apple is making it possible to use more and more monitors on Macs now. But you got to make sure. They even have a website where you can go and you type in the serial number of your Mac, and it'll tell you how many monitors you can attach to it and how to do it. But Apple has been way behind on that with Macs for a long time. PCs have had these kind of options for a long time. So you don't have to stop at 2 if you really fall hard down the rabbit hole. And finally,
It's hard not to stop once you start, right, Dave?
oh God, especially if you have a compliant spouse.
Uh-huh.
I make a little money doing this, so she lets me use some of that for toys. Now the secret's out. Now you know why I'm still doing this.
That's right.
But you can also use a Windows laptop as a second monitor for your Windows desktop, or second or extra monitor. Doesn't have to be the second one. I've already got 4 monitors on this laptop. If I want 5, I have to do 2 things. I have to go to the Windows laptop over here, and I'm going to share its screen. It'll be the easiest thing. It'll be easier for you to see that way. Okay, now you see my Windows desktop on the laptop. This is my laptop. I can now go to settings in Windows. You can always get to that by searching for the word settings in the search box down here, just to the right of your start button. I can go to the settings app, which has settings for everything about Windows, but I want the system settings, first ones. And if I go down the list on those, I've got an option entitled projecting to this PC. If I click on this, I'm taken to the projecting to this PC screen. There is a little bit of setup I have to do here. I have to add the wireless display optional feature to project on this PC if I have not done that at some point in the past. I only have to do this once, but I wanted to show you the process from scratch here. So to add this wireless display optional feature, I click here where it's on this link that says optional features. And I click the plus sign to add a feature. I can just search for wireless. There it is, wireless display. I select that by clicking on the checkbox, and I click install. This will take a moment. Once that installation finishes, I'll just back up here using the back arrow in the upper left-hand corner of the window to my settings page again, to projecting on this PC. And I have to do one more thing here. I have to launch the Connect app to project to this PC. This is all I'll have to do the second time I do this, because I will have already installed the wireless display feature on the laptop. But now I'll click that, and the laptop says, okay, I'm ready, send me a screen. I'm ready to be an external screen on another Windows PC. that is on the same wireless network. So I'm going to kill my share now. And that laptop is there waiting to activate that laptop as an external monitor, an additional monitor on my main system here. I just go to the main system and I hold down the Windows key on the keyboard, which is in the lower left, and press K. And Windows will search for so-called Miracast compatible displays. And there it is. There's my MSI laptop. That's its Windows name. The MSI is a company that makes a laptop. I never change the default name. If I want to use that laptop display as an external monitor on this system, I just click on that option and everything goes black and you think you've ruined everything. But no, just give it a second. Windows has to readjust everything. And now, if we want to see what's happened, I need to go to my pan tilt zoom camera I've been using over there. And here's my laptop screen. Let me roll out a little bit. That's the Windows laptop I want to use as an external monitor, and it's showing just a Windows desktop background. It's a little hard to tell what might have happened there, but let's see. I can investigate that by just moving my mouse cursor on my main system from the first monitor to the second to the third and to the fourth, and just keep going, and yahoo! That's my cursor, and the one that's moving is my mouse cursor from my primary system. That laptop is now my fifth monitor. How can I use that? Well, I can come back over here and I can bring up a window, a window that I can drag over onto it, because I already have my displays set to extend, or my multiple displays set to extend. So I can just drag. And there's that window on the laptop. I can demonstrate that I now have 5 displays on this system by going back to my main screen here. And I can run settings on this machine. I go to System, Display, and look, where I had 4 before, I now have 5. So that laptop is serving as my 5th monitor on this system. So that's how you use a Windows laptop as an additional monitor on a Windows 10 system. Okay, and that's everything I had for today. We've already seen how to use the iPad as an external monitor. So I'm done. Right, Susan.
Yes.
You had questions about getting your settings.
Yes. So
Multi-display settings. Do you want to share your screen?
sure.
We can troubleshoot it. I think I've killed all the other screen shares here. Let me know if it
Let's see.
messes with you.
Okay, hold on 1 minute. Okay, let me set up what I have for the formatting. Okay. So this is, hold on 1 minute. Okay. So this is,
Okay, I'm not seeing your monitor or your screen.
hold on. Okay,
There we go.
so
Good.
I can't, well, the monitor 2 is my main monitor.
Okay,
And so I would go this, right?
correct. Now scroll down.
Scroll down.
It's already set as your main display.
Yes, but it keeps having problems. I can't.
Can you show me what kind of problems it's having?
Okay. So, oh, hold on 1 minute. Should stop the shirt. Okay. So let me share screen again. Okay, so this is my monitor 2
Okay.
or my monitor 1. But when I click on that Firefox, it goes to my monitor 2.
Oh, well, that's just because Firefox opened on monitor 2 the last time. Just click the title bar on the Chrome window and just drag it over onto this monitor.
Okay, click the Chrome window here on my
Other monitor and click and drag it over. Because
okay,
that you have to be able to do that anyway to make use of the 2 monitors.
okay.
It's
It's still in my old monitor, my
Oh.
main monitor.
right. If you let's see, let me look at Chrome here.
Okay.
Yeah, the trick is grabbing the top center of the window where it says Chrome, right at the top,
Okay, hold on. Let me open Chrome.
and
So I'm in
hold.
Chrome.
Yeah. Okay. Now you're looking at the other monitor, right?
Yes.
Okay. Grab the top center, the title bar at the
Okay.
very top of the window. Point at it, click and hold it, and move and drag left or right, depending on where that monitor is physically located.
Ah. Okay, finally.
There we are.
Yes.
There you
Okay,
go.
so I have to
Yeah.
drag the top.
An application will if you have multiple monitors, and I'm glad you brought this up because that's a really good point everybody will want to know. Your application will remember which monitor it was displaying on the last time you used it.
Okay.
So it will start up on that monitor automatically the next time you use that application. And you just, if that's not where you want it, you just have to drag it over onto the other monitor.
Got it.
So you're rocking and rolling.
Oh, thank you so much, because I tried 2 years ago at the start of the pandemic to set it up. Got the cables, but just couldn't format it. And so thank you so much. I mean, it's
That's
been
my pleasure. Gosh, anytime there's something like that you think I might be able to help with, just email me and we'll get
I
together.
will. Thank you.
Out. They're paying me to do this. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, no, I just couldn't get it. Yeah, okay.
Sometimes it's something super simple that just doesn't occur to you, and it happens to me all the time. Like, well, you saw it happen to me a minute ago, and you just work your way through it, and it helps if you have somebody else to bounce it off of, and
Great.
one of you maybe will see what's going on. So great.
Awesome.
Today has not been a waste.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm so glad that we were able to help.
Have a good weekend, everyone. And Dave, again, much appreciated. Big
So good to
mahalo.
see you again, Susan.
We'll see you
Bye, Susan.
later.
Espen, thanks for coming. Any of you have any other questions? I'm always happy to answer questions as long as you have them.
Have a
Dave-
good weekend with your wife. Thanks, Dave.
Hi there. Can I ask you a question?
Please do.
Okay, I have a very old Mac computer. It's about maybe 10, 11 years old.
Right,
I have an old Sony TV, about the same age.
right.
And, I tried to use a cable to use my TV as a second monitor.
Right.
Works fine. My son helped me with that also, but the connection, like the wire, the cable, sometimes like it loses the connection. It's like, I don't know if it's because they're both
Jiggle
old.
it to get it to
Yes.
reconnect.
Yes, yes.
It could be that video connector on the old Mac is just a little worn,
Okay.
or it could be the cable.
Yes, we
You
thought
might,
it's
have to replace, you might try replacing the cable. That's
yeah,
all.
we ordered a new cable actually because of that. We
Good.
thought that could be the case, but then it was better, but it still started acting. So
Every now and then it'll still drop out.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably that old mini DisplayPort connector on the Mac.
Okay.
Those things can,
It can get old, right?
yeah, there's not really much you could do. It wouldn't be worth trying to replace that.
Okay. Okay.
Cheaper to go out, probably cheaper to go buy a Mac Mini.
Yes, true. Okay, I wanted to make sure. Yeah, that's what my guess was also. But
Yeah, that's probably that's the best guess I can make. Yeah, it's just not. It's making an intermittent physical connection because
Okay.
the connector's a little worn.
yes, okay, that's
Sounds like you've tried everything there that
yes.
reason
I
to try. So, okay,
also have a question. It's not regarding this. Is that okay if I ask you regarding the
anything at this.
use accordion menu for Canvas, like drop menu, like accordion? You know what I'm talking about?
Let's start that one over again, Willie. I lost situational awareness somewhere.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with this topic. It's related to menu in Canvas. Like if you want to make a drop down menu in Canvas, maybe I can show you what I mean.
Oh, please share your screen. Show me what you're thinking about.
Yeah, let me also find it first. It's on my pages. I have a page. I had it open that I think I lost it. Let me open it again. Pages.
No problem.
Then yeah, then I'll see. You can see better what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Make sure I'm answering the question you're asking.
Yeah, exactly.
Not always a sure thing.
Right. Pages. Accordion. Okay, this one. I got it. Okay, so let me share my screen now.
Go for it. You have that capability.
Okay. Okay, this is the one I'm talking about.
Okay, just a second. It hadn't popped up yet. There it is. Got it.
Okay. I got-
Accordion drop down menu template. Okay.
Okay, and
Maybe
it says
you
it's a smart, like because I wanted to make sure if students are using a smartphone, it works. I wanted to see if you've used this kind of like you do this, you know, you like it gives you.
I haven't used this particular template,
Okay, okay.
so I'd have to play with it. What is it you want to be able to do? Well, you want to be able to do things like that where you can click that little arrow, right pointing arrow, and it will
Yes,
pop
because-
up whatever is underneath that.
right. Because sometimes I have a page and there's a lot of information on that page. It gets like cluttered. I
Mhm.
wanted to make sure I would put it I use something like this, and then this way it wouldn't be cluttered. You know what I mean?
Right, but you say it's not working on a smartphone, or
It is actually, this one says it's working, but I'm not so sure. It says they have to use this code. I can send you this. This is the template. I got it.
can you send me that? It looks fascinating. I'd love to play with it, and I'll
Okay,
see
yeah.
if I can figure out. So
Okay.
it's not working on a computer properly for you.
No, it works on the computer, but it says it also works on the smartphone because I was looking for something that I can how do I say that? Let me go to the home page. This kind of stuff. I think apparently it doesn't work as well, like these tabs.
You've got some nice buttons there, yeah.
Right, but I think a smartphone doesn't support it very well, right? These buttons.
Oh, I would think they would work fine on a smartphone.
Do? Okay.
If you're, that's a good question. It'll work if you're accessing the Canvas course through the web browser on the smartphone.
Mhm.
Won't work with the smartphone student app in all probability.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there's two ways you can access Canvas from a smartphone. One is to use the student or teacher app.
Okay.
The other is just to use the web browser on the phone and use the smartphone like a regular computer. And some things will work in one case and not in the other. And this may be one of them.
Oh, okay.
I'd have to try some testing on that. But, you know, I don't know if I've tried making buttons on a home page or on a Canvas page and accessing them through the student app and seeing them work. I don't think I've tried that. So that's something. Let me let me write that down.
Okay.
This is something I need to know. Thank you for.
Yeah, sure. So when I came across, I found a YouTube video. I'll send you that YouTube video that talked about this, and it says it's supported by like a smartphone. It says it in here. It works also on a smartphone. It says use your phone or smart devices to scan the QR.
You have to scan the QR code first, huh?
Okay.
Okay, I can't wait to try that. Accessing this pages.
Okay, and let's send you the link. This is the link from it. The video says you can get this template from Commons, like the Commons from here.
Oh, can you send me the Commons link for it?
Yeah, I'll send you the common links and the link to the video that explains it also, both of them.
Outstanding. Thank you. I can't wait to play with it.
Oh, great. Yeah, and then you can give us more, like, because
if I can get it to work, if I'm still smart enough, I'll do a tutorial on how to make it work. I'm always looking for new ideas.
Yeah, because the pages that we have for this course I have, it's really cluttered. Is it the right word? Cluttered? Cluttered,
So
right?
you want to declutter it.
Right, yeah.
And that's a great thing. And you want to be able to do that in a Canvas page. That's a noble ambition. And I will love to take a look at that. And I will, if I can get it to work with Canvas, I will do a tutorial on how to do that.
Great. Thank you, Dave.
It's a great idea. I'm going to add that to my tutorials list too. So
oh, wonderful. Okay, so I'll send you both links, this link and also the video. Okay, great. Thanks so much. That was great.
That's great. New toy.
Yes, I know you love toys. And
You got it. Yeah. Well, what gave you that idea?
That's great. I do appreciate all your wonderful workshops. They're very helpful.
Oh, Mitra.
Every time I use them, I think about you a lot. So you've been helping us tremendously.
Well, I'm always here if I can ever help. You know,
Yeah.
touch with.
Thank you. And I really appreciate your wife allowing you to do all this.
Let me buy all the toys. I'll pass that along to her.
Yes, please let her know that we do love her and appreciate that. I know it's not easy to get her approval, but she's nice that she does.
She's been very, very understanding. So,
Yeah,
but I honestly, as soon as I get off, I'll go and tell her what you said.
No, but she's doing the right thing, because if she didn't have, if it wouldn't be easy, if it would have been easy for you, then you would have been really going out of your way. So it's good for her to be there for you to control to the limits, you know. I appreciate both of you. So thanks again. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll
Have a wonderful weekend. Thanks so much for coming today. I really enjoyed this.
I love to be here. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. And I'm the only one left.